It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Monday, June 3rd, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another week together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Provi In The Media, the Sunday Message Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And I hope you guys had an amazing and awesome weekend with an amazing Sunday service too. Don't forget, every Thursday is Q&A, so get those questions ready. Send it to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, for today's video, leave a like and comment to build our community. Now, I'm just very happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Realize the Meaning of Dream Revelations. Yes, great and awesome, awesome Sunday message this week. And I would say it's just coming at a perfect time because I did have a dream revelation and it was, I don't know, I'm just hoping it's physical. Yeah, I'll tell you about that in a bit. But how was your weekend, everyone? Anything new or exciting happen? I'm just super happy, just more and more thankful how much God is taking care of me. I'm grateful because God is truly the great provider. And it's interesting because in the message it talks about how when God is working with us, we're praying for it, and then we get anxious. And when I think back of all the things that God has done to provide for me, I wonder to myself, do I even need to be anxious and worried? Like, is that a requirement from God that I have to be anxious and worried? Because I'm like, man, there's just too many times that God has taken care of me. And in the moment that I'm really, really in need, everything just works out, right? Everything does. So, for those of you guys that just saw it, yes, I'm working on a new schedule. So Provi In The Media, I changed to Monday. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I don't know where to put anything else right now, but I like the Wednesdays as health is happiness. So I do want to keep that. So I'm losing 2G Talks because Eddie will switch that to the Tuesdays because he's doing the entire Tuesday. But I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, where should I put Provi In The Media? And I'll put that on the Mondays instead. And of course, everyone's kind of wondering and wanting just a quick update of what happened in the last trial. And I'm sure some of you already know what's going on too. But I'm going to try it this way, see what you guys think about this also. All right? So here's what happened. So God is a great provider. And I'll tell you the situation is I was renting a car before from a member. And after renting the car, I went to Korea and then Taiwan. And when I came back, like about a week before I came back to Malaysia, the member told me, oh, the company's now selling the car, so I don't have a car to rent. So I'm like, oh, what do I do? And right when I got back to Malaysia, it was perfect because the next day, a friend of mine was going to Korea for 10 days and like, hey, they let me use their car for the 10 days they're gone. So I was like, all right, I got 10 days to figure out what I should do with my car. And then it's just, I was able, like another person God is working through, which I'm super thankful to, has also allowed me to use their car also. So I was just like, wow, this really, really works out. It really does. And I was like, God, you're doing things in perfect timing. Now, here's what happened, okay? So I lost my car on the Saturday. Was it Saturday? No, Friday. So I had like Saturday until Sunday morning until I was able to pick up another car. Okay, so which means basically like a day and a half because I dropped that person off on Friday night and then all the way till Sunday morning I don't have a car, right? So Saturday, Alpha Day, I took like a taxi, like an Uber to the church, and then after church, a friend of mine took me out for some coffee, and then I ended up at a shopping mall. Okay, and it's pretty far away from my house. And I was like, it's pretty far away by driving. And if I took a cab, it's really expensive. I was like, oh, what should I do? So I thought to myself, you know what? let me just take the subway home. I've never taken it before. It's called an MRT. I'm not sure what it means, like metro, rail, transport, whatever it is, right? I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take the MRT. And I searched on the internet, found out that I was only 4 stops away, but it's still a long 4 stops. And I was like, it's perfect. Perfect. Bought my ticket, got on the train, and it was awesome. Right when I walk in the train, someone gets up and just leaves me a seat. And I'm like, yes! I sit down, thankful to God, like, God, once again, you love me so much that you give me a place to sit. Sat down and chill. Okay, so only 4 stops, but it's roughly around a little less than 30 minutes. Okay, so I was like, cool, I got it. Sitting down on my phone. And then 1 stop passes by, 2nd stop, and then on the way to the 3rd stop, the girl next to me taps me on my shoulder. And she says to me, do you know that this is only for girls? And I looked at her. I was like, oh, really? And, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm like, oh, man, I'm in the wrong, these seats are reserved for girls. I looked around. It's just girls around me. I was like, oh, this makes sense. And I the only thing that lets me get away with it is I have a foreigner's accent, like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's my first time. I didn't know. So I got up and I stood up and another girl sat down. I was like, man, I'm so stupid. So I sat there by the exit doors, right? So I just stood there and I'm on my phone, right? And next stop comes and I see people going out and the doors slide closed again. And I was like, I was like, huh. And when the doors closed, on the door, there's this pink sign. And the pink sign says, ladies' car only. And I was like, what? And then I looked at the entire train, like in that car, and I was like, everyone's a girl. So I was like, man, I feel so stupid. And I walked to the next car. Go to the next car, all girls. I'm like, wait, I look, I see it once again, ladies' car. Walk to the next car, ladies' car. Walk to the next car, ladies. And I was like going, is this whole train only for girls? And I was like kind of freaking out, but I got to the 5th car and finally there was like a bunch of guys in there. And then I finally felt kind of normal, but I just realized it's a Muslim country, so they do split the girls and the guys. It's a normal, natural thing. I didn't know. When you go to any other country, like a Western country, there's no such thing as a ladies only car. And it was so embarrassing. And even for me, when I first sat down in the seat, there's these 2 high school girls sitting across from me, looking at me and talking. And I had I was thinking to myself, why are they staring at me, kind of thing? Why are they talking about me? But they're speaking Malay, so I have no idea what's going on. But it was embarrassing. But then after that, Chris from New Zealand, he texts me and says, hey, I saw the entire, I left a video on my Instagram saying this is my first time riding the subway. And if you watch that video until the very end, you'll see the sign that says ladies only. And he texts me and says, hey, I saw the car. It says ladies only. And I looked, and then this was after the fact everything happened. And I told him I didn't even notice. I'm not even looking for that because usually there's no such thing as a ladies only car. I didn't even notice it. And then he told me, he was laughing kind of and felt sorry for me. And he's like, but then he told me that, yeah, he walked into the ladies' room 3 times by mistake. And we started talking about all those times we did these types of mistakes. And you guys know my story. The one time that I was so desperate to go to the bathroom, to go to the toilet, I ran into the ladies' bathroom, closed the door behind me, and I took a big toilet dump, right? It was loud too. And I didn't even realize it was a girl's bathroom until I walked out and I see a girl washing her hands and I froze and I'm looking around like, wait a second. And then I looked around and there's no urinal in that bathroom. I'm like, oh my gosh. And the girl looks at me and says, this is a girl's bathroom. I'm like, ah, and I ran out. So, I've had some, I've had some pretty epic failures and stuff like that too, but it's very, very interesting. And I hope it's something that, I don't know. Do you guys have any of those stories? Let me know if you have any stories. Like me and Chris, we can't be the only ones that walked into the wrong bathroom. Come on, guys. Right? Again, even when I go to Korea, there's always an old woman, an old ajumma that's working in the bathroom, cleaning it and stuff like that, which was so weird for me in the beginning, but I'm so used to it now. Like even here in Malaysia, you'll have like women who are cleaning the bathrooms even while guys are in there and stuff too. But either way, interestingly, but yeah, that was my experience of the weekend. It was pretty funny. When you look back at it, it was pretty funny, right? Oh, guys, what did you guys think about Alpha Day? The message? The message was powerful. It was so deep, so heartfelt to hear what Sunseem went through. And it was actually a lot more detailed than I remembered in the past, what he's talking about. And it's really amazing to hear. I thought it was really moving to see Pastor Kang Nok-hwa. And she was the one delivering the message. And she's one of the first people that ever came to this history. She has such a deep understanding of the words and such a rich love for this history and for the Lord. And I don't know if you felt this, guys. Even though I was listening to an English translation, I felt she talks very quietly, slowly, and softly. It was so peaceful. And I'm not sure if this is the right word, but it was very like motherly. I don't know if did you guys feel that? Like I enjoyed her preaching, listening to her and even just hearing it. And the person translating in English, she's someone also that I interviewed. I think her name's Lena from Australia. You could tell by the Australian accent, I think, right? Even her voice was perfect for the translation, soft, right? And you can, I don't know, I really felt this motherly feeling. Even the way she smiled, like, it wasn't just the smile, it was the heart that was delivered through the smile. It was amazing to me because I've known her for a long time too. Because I came to this history in 1998. I think I met her in 2002. And I was floored. It was amazing. It really was. I was just really inspired and moved by her preaching. And to see she is one of the longest surviving people in Providence, one of the very first to come. And to see her up there preaching, for me, it was really inspiring and moving to see these ancestors of faith here. I look at myself kind of as an ancestor of faith, kind of, because I'm 1998. But when you think about it, these people, like, did you see the video after? Showing the video when it was 1986, I think, or 1985, when it showed her, 1985, how many years ago is that? That's like 35 years ago. Tell me how crazy that is. 35 years ago, you see, it looked like she was in university maybe. And just to see someone there who's been here from the very beginning, I was truly and awesomely and amazingly inspired. I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen her before. She's usually the ones like edits the word and stuff like that too. But yeah, I was really inspired and I loved seeing her up there at the front also. You know what? There's one of these questions that came up in one of the comments, and it talked about harmony. I'm not sure if you guys remember it, but maybe it's a while back. But a question about harmony came up from a member, and the thought came to my head is, okay, so what is our like Providence definition of harmony? What does it really mean to be harmonious? And the song that came to my head was Harmony, right? And that first line is like, through the good and the bad, we are one no matter what. And I thought, just that first line there was enough for me to like, harmony is something that is a little bit different. I believe it's different than what we thought, what we think in our heads. Harmony, when we think about harmony, we sometimes go too ideal. No fighting, no arguing, no downs. It's all just everyone in peace and love. And when you think about just that first line of harmony, harmony is something that takes effort, which means that through life, we're going to have good and bad. No matter what, we're going to have good and bad all the time. We're going to have disagreements. We're going to have things that we may not agree with. We're going to have things that we might even argue or even fight about. But the part that's really amazing about harmony is even though we have good and bad times, we're one no matter what. That's the biggest thing. Harmony is not just about everyone getting along, no disagreements or arguments or fighting. It's I think sometimes we might try to be too ideal, right? We become way too ideal in this pursuit of true harmony. But what we see is the reason why harmony is so beautiful is because we're going to have good and bad times. It's going to keep coming here and there. But to be truly harmonious, no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how bad it gets, like what happened last year, no matter how hard it is, we're still one. Now, what does that mean we're still one? And one thing that Sunseam does talk about, the reason why we're still one, because we are all here fulfilling the exact same goal, the exact same will, the same purpose. And that's what makes a lot more sense to me is, as people who are believing and running in this history, we all have the same purpose to fulfill God's will. However, we're all going to have different methods and styles because we're all different. And as long as we have that same goal, what's going to happen is what we're going to care about the most is not so much how it's done. Well, that shouldn't be the number one thing that matters to us. The number one thing that should matter to us is not how it's done, is can we fulfill it? Can we fulfill that common goal to fulfill God's will? And if we're to truly become harmonious, even if it gets really bad like last year, we still have to aim for the same goal and fulfill God's history. We're all different in character. We're all different in thoughts. Some are sensitive. Some are not sensitive. Some are extra. Some are emotional. Some are not emotional. Right? There's differences of us all the time. We're different in character, different in personality, different in thoughts. But what makes us one is we are all reaching towards the same goal. And if we all remember together that this is where we want to be, then in the end, all we care about is, are we going to reach that goal or not? And whether it's your way, my way, this person's way, or whatever we discuss together, even if it may not be the way that we think, the most important thing is it fulfills God's will. Things are going to get tough. It's a part of life. I think it's the same thing as what is harmony between friends. Friends go through difficult times and it actually draws them closer. Once they overcome the difficult time, it draws them closer. And that's what makes someone a true or real friend. If someone's not true, what happens is in the difficult times, they give up and then they're like, forget it, I quit. I don't need to be friends with this person. But when people are truly, truly friends, what happens? Yeah, you're going to have fights. You're going to go through some difficult times, but you have to push through because that's what makes people friends, right? So, I think it's something that we really have to think about too. Harmony is what we all need to do to move forward, which actually brings me into a really insightful thing that happened last week. And it's kind of like a realization from, us in this MSD community. We're from everywhere. We have Japanese, we have Taiwanese and Koreans and Americans, Canadians, Europeans, Africans, Oceania, Southeast Asia. We have people from everywhere. Asian cultures, Western cultures. Can you imagine? This is the same as a church. A church is going to have, at least in a church, inside of a church, you're going to have one race usually. In the Korean church, it's vastly dominated by Koreans. You go to a Chinese church, it's vastly dominated by Chinese. And one thing I'm going to tell you right now that you're actually getting a taste of when you come into MSD. You're kind of getting a taste of what Western churches are like. When you go to an Asian country, it's predominantly Asian of that culture and that race. When you go to America and Canada, especially America and Canada, Australia, probably even like New Zealand and Europe, it's very multicultural. Everyone's very different. And that's why you're going to find that in America, you're going to find Asian churches. You're going to find white churches. You're going to find black churches, even though it's really multicultural, right? That's kind of like what MSD is. MSD is like a little mini melting pot of all the different English-speaking Protestant people from so many different countries. Asian, Western, wherever. And it's a great exercise because it helps us to understand the values of different cultures. It helps us to understand the 심정 of other people a lot better. For instance, generally, Westerners put value on the peace of the individual, which includes speaking your mind, saying what you think is right, speaking up for others who cannot speak for themselves, right? This is why you see a ton of protests in America, Canada, in Europe for almost every cause, right? You'll see like, hey, we stand up for LGBT. Oh, we stand up for Hamas. We stand up pro-Palestine, pro-Israel. Like, it's everywhere. You're going to have a protest for every single cause there because in Western countries, they value the peace of the individual and they speak up for others who cannot speak for themselves. You have a right to speak in Western cultures, even if you're wrong. Now, Asian cultures, there's an emphasis on the peace of the group. So when the group is put above the individual, the biggest thing about this is Asian cultures put an emphasis on the peace of the group and not the individual. So it's better not to have conflict. It's better not to say something. And it's because they value the peace above of the group above themselves. Like, Asians will probably they'll feel more bad for being against someone, but Westerners don't feel bad because they're able to say what they wanted to say and they have peace in their heart as an individual. And I would say, like, coming from a Westerner's perspective, I don't think Westerners like conflict. It's just about the value of each individual. And I don't even think that I don't think that Asians don't value the individual. It's just that the value of the group is above the value of the individual. Now, is there a right or wrong? And the answer is, I'll say it's twofold. What is right? What is the right thing to do? Well, it depends on which country you're in, right? It really does. It depends on which country you're in. Now, which is wrong, I would say that's completely different. What is wrong? Like, which way, like, is it about the individual or the group? Which is wrong? Well, it depends on the situation and circumstance, regardless of the culture, regardless of the country. And what's the situation, circumstance? Sometimes it's better, some things are too small. It's better not to create any conflict. And sometimes things have gone so bad, it's better to speak up and help facilitate major change. And I think in every country in the world, I think it's very different. Where are we now in Providence in general? And that's something that you would have to feel yourself. Do you feel that Providence right now is in a place that we just need to keep peace and just keep doing things the same way we've been doing for the last 45 years? Or do you feel we're in a place to facilitate major change? Now, why do I say major? Because even in a regular situation, to maintain the peace and just keep going doesn't mean you don't change. You're going to make minor tweaks and changes here and there. Major change is more like a revolution, like, hey, we really got to change things. Like, it can't be this way. Do you know what I mean? So that is something I look at and say, it really depends on where you think your country or your church is at. And I think it's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson for everyone in both Western and Asian countries. And if there's someone who would know this even better, I would say it's Pastor David. I got to ask him about this because here he is, a Western person living in an Eastern Asian country. And I'm sure for the 11, 12 years, maybe 13 years he's been in Korea, think about that. He's a white dude living in Korea. He must have a ton of stories of misunderstandings of being a Westerner living in Korea. You know, when you're in Korea, you're going to hear the grumblings about the Westerners. And when you're in the Western side, you're going to hear the grumblings about the Asians, right? And I think this is where harmony comes in, about understanding each other really well. Understanding that Asians are a certain way in general. And Asians need to understand the Westerners. And the Westerners need to understand the Asians, right? I've heard Asians say, oh, Westerners are so prideful. Westerners are so arrogant, this, and that. Right? Oh, they want to create conflict, whatever it is. But it's not really that. It's just what they value. And then the Westerners might say, oh, look at these Asians. They just follow whatever. They're like blind sheep, just follow whatever the leader says. It's not like that either, right? So it's when you kind of, I've been traveling Asia and Western countries all my life. And like I'll tell you this, one thing being in Asia, one thing that is a very common thing that I've heard is that, Westerners like to, quote unquote, break the rules. Break the rules. And I would say, no, it's just coming from, of course, in every culture, in every country, there are rule breakers. However, Westerners are going to seem even more extreme as rule breakers. And Asians, when Westerners look at Asians, they're going to seem much more follow the crowd. Just when we look at from each side there. But I think one of the beauties of social media, and even looking at this podcast, is we are not just one country or even one culture. Like I said, like when the last time I looked at the analytics, let me just take a look here, and I'll show you the analytics of the audience, which countries are listening to this channel. It's really, really amazing, right? We have Taiwan, Malaysia, Japan, Singapore, US, South Korea, Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, Philippines, Macau, New Zealand, Germany. We have people from these, this is not even all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 13 different countries that are listening to this podcast. And when I read them, you saw it. It's from everywhere. Right? It's everywhere. It's not just Asia. It's not just Western countries. It's everywhere. And of course, when you look at the numbers, some of the numbers I'll look at is like, wow, a lot of them are coming from Asia. And it's mainly because there's more Asians than there are Westerners. By far. Just looking at Providence. Like I told you guys, Westerners, how many of us are there? There's not that many. There's not that many Westerners. America has less than 500. Canada has like 150. Australia probably has maybe 130, 140 maybe. I'm not sure. Australia, I know it's like 150. It hasn't reached 200 yet. Hong Kong probably has another 200 or so. Singapore has another 100 something, right? So when you put these all together, you're not even getting 1,000 just from those Western. Well, Singapore's not really Western, but they're kind of Western, but not Western. I don't know. If you're Singaporean out there, let me know if you consider yourself more Asian or more Western. Because it feels like you're the most Western of the Asian countries. That's just my take. But you guys might think differently about that. But yeah, when you look at all the English-speaking countries, there's not that many. And there's not that many people in each of them. And that's why it's just going to be unbalanced, because even though there's less than 1,000, you're going to have tens of thousands of Asians. And of the tens of thousands of Asians, there's going to be more than 1,000 that are speaking English, which is like bigger than the entire English-speaking population. So I found that, but I think that's one of the beauties of being in social media, right? So it's very, very interesting. And I think, it was a lot to think over the weekend, going through different situations, different people from around the world. And, you kind of get an idea of the style of each country too as you begin to visit and meet more people. And like I said, it's not about who's better or who is right. It's just about gaining harmony, to understand each other. Harmony comes when everything is laid out and we can take a look at what each other is thinking or what we do. Are there going to be misunderstandings? Yes. Are there going to be fighting? Yes. Arguments? Yes. But with good communication, problems are resolved and people will understand each other better. And that's just the way it is, right? And I think it's something that we do have to take into consideration right now also. So, yeah, I think this is the great part about having this global community. Like it's like a global village where we can all connect with each other so easily. All right. Either way, I hope that you guys are very much enjoying this time. I am enjoying my Monday. It's a great Monday for me, and I hope you guys will be able to enjoy your time on this wonderful Monday. We do have the Sunday Message Word Study next, but before we get into that, let's get into the first music break of the day. Hey guys,
Where I come from, we never run. Don't throw the towel in like you done. Don't talk all the talk like you did something. Breaking down the barricade, you know we coming through. They think they got us all surrounded, but you know we bulletproof. Boom! Never fall for deception, defeating God's nemesis, Satan. I'm like Tom Clancy, that they can catch me stealthy. It's so healthy, the opportunity doesn't come back. Just because you miss it, there's no glory without sacrificing. You better fit your position. My life's not perfect, but I'm always resurrected. Now determines the future more than any time. I gotta make it. Day or night right now is important. Young or old right now is important. Realize that right now is important before it's too late and time is up. Every day I gotta go, yeah, I gotta move right now is important. I do well, trying to catch my dreams. I'm never giving up right now. It's just time shine, don't mess it up. Right now we gotta do what we gotta do. We can't let nothing hold us back, we gotta move. God will always keep his promises to us. We can't just hope and talk and dream, that's not enough. You will receive according to what you have done. If we don't reach to heaven, that will not be fun. What you have done ain't what happens now. What you are doing now will make what happens in the future. Gotta stick to it. They can lie, they can cheat, and they can slander, but this history will not stop and keep going. We have to stay together. It's such a loss you fail to recognize the Messiah too late. It's either the path of life or death, so pick your fate. Right now it's important, right now it's important. 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 Yeah, now's an important time. Now's an important time. Check your thoughts right now. Check your thoughts right now. Now's an important time. Now's an important time. Check your thoughts right now. Check your thoughts right now. Now's an important time. Now's an important time. Check your thoughts right now. Check your thoughts right now. Now's an important time. Now's an important time. Check your thoughts right now. Check your thoughts right now.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. And of course, every Monday is the Sunday message word study. And this week's title is Realize the Meaning of Dream Revelations. Now, I forgot to tell you about this when I actually did segment number 1, but I did have a dream last week. Really, really interesting dream. Okay, so my uncle in Canada, he comes up to me and gives me 2 options. And he says, hey, you can either take number 1 or number 2. What's number 1? Number 1 is $5 million, like Canadian dollars. And I was like, whoa, like that's life-changing. And then he says, or you can take the risk and take the mystery box in number 2. Number 2, which one do you want? $5 million US or the mystery box in number 2? And the first thought that came to my mind was, you know what? I'm a risk taker. So let me take the risk. So I say, I'll take the mystery box. And then he hands me a check for like $22 million. I thought it was 80 in the beginning, but I think it was like $22 million. And I was like, whoa! And then I woke up, right? So that's like the dream I had last week. And then crazily, we had this new Sunday message come up is realize the meaning of dream revelations. And that's why I kind of said, I kind of hope that this is physical. But of course, we want the spiritual. We want to have that spiritual riches that last eternally, right? Because if you really think about it, what we have in this physical world is so temporary. It is so short. Most of it's not even worth it. However, a lot of it is just blessings from our past, blessings from the things that we've done for God. So when I saw this, I thought to myself, I was like, oh, what a great dream. And this is a dream that could be fulfilled physically too. If I know my elder uncle also. But I was just like, what kind of, I really thought about what kind of dream is this? But it was a really, really cool dream. But to see the title, realize the meaning of dream revelations, that's something that really was like, ooh, that was not a little bit, it was mind-blowing. It really, really was. So I hope that you guys gained a lot from this week's Sunday message. And of course, it's about blessings and getting the things from God. And sometimes it's about the blessings come through dreams and visions, vision through trances, through the Bible, through people and stuff like that too. And one of the big points is, from the very beginning, is the way God blesses or the way God gives to you is similar to how God did things in the past, right? Of course, there's going to be slight differences depending on the will or what you've actually asked for. But when you see the general characteristics of each, this is what God did here, you're going to see that, it's similar to what God did in the past, right? And we all know sometimes if something is small enough or something is ready, God gives you things right away, which I hope my dream is fulfilled right away. But in most cases, what we do know and what the message tells us is a lot of the times the will is fulfilled, but it requires a solving of some type of problem. And it's not going to come true until that problem is solved, which means it's going to take time for that problem to actually be solved. And this is when a lot of us will kind of complain and say, God, why is it taking so long? God, aren't you with me? God, why is it like this? But it's finally fulfilled when you actually go until the end, right? So I hope that we realize, especially that God, the way God created the earth, remember, God said that God, if things are just God himself and he's going to take care of something, that is something that is can be taken care of outside of time and space. But human beings are living in this physical realm. And all the things that we want or the things that we pray or request for, it's made according to rational principles. And things will be done according to the space and time that you're actually in. And that's why we have to be patient. If God was doing things just like I said, God by himself, do whatever he wants. He's not bound by time and space like we are. And that's why, because we're in this time and space on the earth, God is making things happen according to the time and space that we are living in. This is why we have to be those that realize more deeply of how God is making things happen. Just think about Wolmyeongdong. Wolmyeongdong, when we have human beings involved and when we have free will involved, what's the biggest problem? The biggest problem about Wolmyeongdong, the biggest problem about free will is that people can do whatever they want. So when you look at when Sassi talked about buying Wolmyeongdong, he said sometimes it took 10 to 15 years to buy a piece of land. And it was so long, even to the point Sansi was wondering, is this even the will? But you just got to keep doing what you need to do, and eventually it is fulfilled. So we have to understand is, God is helping us, but it's according to the level or the place that we're living in right now. And why is that important? That's so important because we're living where it's not just about us. Sometimes it involves other people. Sometimes it involves other people that don't want to give the land to us or whatever it is, right? So we have to be those that trust in God, but while you trust in God, continually do your responsibility. As long as we do what we're supposed to do and God is working with us, this is when things happen. But if either one of those are missing, if God is not with us, then we're not going to get it. And if we don't do our responsibility, we're not going to get it either. There's one thing that I thought was interesting that kind of goes against the point I just made. Because we're talking about things that has to do with God's will. But what about other things? There are some people that don't believe in God, right? They don't believe. I thought this was really deep. People don't believe in God, but as long as they do the work, they can be successful or they'll get things done, right? That's why they can be successful, make a lot of money. So even for us, sometimes people look and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Then what's the point of, I believe in God and this person doesn't, but this person makes way more money than me? And the answer is because that person knows money better than you do. They have better actions. They have better experience, better wisdom when it comes to finance. And the question people might bring up is, well, what's the difference of us believing in God or not? And we forget the most important part. We resolve the most important problem, which is the spirit. That problem is fulfilled. That's the most important thing. That even if they have the riches, but when they die in this short life, they have not fulfilled the most important part. Right? Some things don't require God's help, like making riches. Some things don't. You just don't look at the way the world works. You can have criminals making a ton of money selling drugs. It doesn't require God's help. But we have to understand is when it comes to God's will, that is something that is absolute. When someone sells drugs, there's not absolute they'll be rich. They could go to jail. They could be caught by police, right? That's not absolute. We have to entrust. Because we're doing God's will, entrust God's responsibility to Him. And for my work, for the work we need to do, we have to be the ones to do it. Because it's something that Sansim said in the past about God. God says God gave us work, and that work is going to give us joy. And the more you work, the better we become. And if we realize this deeply, and if we take action about this, then what's going to happen is we're going to get blessed even more. We're going to get blessed even more. As long as we complete our work and we do things until the end, this is when God blesses us, whether it's in the past or even now. There's very few things that we've seen that are so big that are given to us at that moment. Big things take longer time. And then Sussy went into dreams. And this is of course, dreams are, people love dreams too, like talking about dreams and such. And dreams are given to us so that we can realize something, right? We're shown things either for ourselves, and sometimes we're shown things that pertain to others as well. And it all depends on the conditions that we set of how strong that answer comes out. So remember what Sansim talked about how today's dream came up, how today's message came up. He said he was receiving the word, and then he realized he needed to pray. And he prayed for 4 hours, and he just received a little bit of the word. But after he ended his prayer, he was in a state of a trance, and he saw this woman bringing one of his favorite foods. This roasted rice wafers with meat, and he's just with pork, I think, right? And when this woman brought the food to him, it just vanished. And he realized, because he didn't receive the pre-dawn word, but instead he went to pray. And he realized also that the woman was going to cook him 10 pieces. So after he asked for it again, he wrote 10 pages of the word, and he got the message for today. So I hope it's something that we can realize when it comes to dreams. So let's take a look at some of the meanings of dreams. So Sansim gave us some answers from this week's message. So in the soul world, if you ever see a man and a woman loving each other, don't feel guilty. Even if you see you making love to the opposite sex, don't feel guilty, right? That means that you are engaging in spiritual love in the exact same way. Now, if you want to be someone who loves God, what does it mean to love God? He said, well, the first answer, I don't know if it's a number one answer, but the message said, doing God's will is loving God. Amen. Because John 14:15 tells us, if you love me, you will obey me, right? And the obedience is to fulfill God's will. Because when you obey God, it all leads to fulfilling God's will. What else is loving? Praying is loving. Evangelizing is loving. Delivering the word is loving. Testifying is loving. Managing lives is loving. These are all things that we have to understand. Now, if we ever look at our dreams or visions or go into the soul world and it's kind of like fuzzy or hazy, it usually means your spiritual power is hazy. And if it's hazy, what should we do? Pray. Pray, focus. You can fast to focus even more, and you're going to realize even more clearly about your dreams and about the waking hours. Your mind has to be focused. So that prayer will help us to focus, make us realize by showing things more clearly. There's a two different types of vision. There's the regular vision that people can get when you see with your eyes. So your eyes are open, you can see something moving, right? And there's a vision in a trance. And that's something Daniel's really good at. One thing Sansim said in the past is the vision in a trance is not very common. It's mainly for super highly intelligent, high-level people will get visions in a trance. In my life, I think I've only gotten one. And that's when I was a newcomer. I think that was just pity because I wasn't that spiritual. But of course, dream revelations are what everyone gets. And when you receive them, you got to interpret them. God and the Holy Spirit are giving us something. They're giving us a revelation secretly. They know the future. And these dream revelations is one of the ways God teaches us. And we went through so many different dream revelations. Like, I didn't even think about how many there were. But since he talked about Solomon, after burning 1,000 offerings, God appears in a dream and he gets his wisdom. Joseph had the dream about the sun, moon, and stars. Joseph also interpreted the dream of the cupbearer and the baker. Jesus was saved because his father received a dream to go to Egypt. Then he had another dream to bring Jesus back to Israel. The three magi, the three wise men had dreams. Right? They saw the star. They came to Bethlehem. And on the way back, they were told in a dream to go back to their country without going to see the king. Right? Even Pilate's wife, Pontius Pilate, who put Jesus to the cross, his wife had a dream. There's so many times. But of course, the best dream that we heard was Jesus appearing to Sunstein and gave him a brush and a mission and said, "This is the last brush." We got to value this stuff. We got to value these dreams from the spiritual world. And some of these dreams, if we think about it, it's going to determine your lifelong destiny. You know, when you take action on something, Sunstein said that he also took action on things when people have dreams about him. And things that he prayed for dozens of years, which means dozens means minimum 24 years, came true. One of the dreams that Jesus appeared to Sunstein and says, "I've returned." Sometimes God shows future accidents. I've heard many stories where Sunstein tells someone not to go to a funeral because, or not to go somewhere, and the car that was driving got into an accident. The person died. So, you know, we have to value these dream revelations. I got to value this $5 million, $22 million dream. I don't even know if it's a spiritual dream yet, though, but, you know, it's just something that I got. So, if anything, we're getting the dreams, but we just need the wisdom to interpret it. And that's why the prayer becomes that important. And something else that I think is very, very important for us to realize and understand, too, is we need to understand that Sunstein's told us many times that the dream has to also fit the reality you're in right now. Right? It's got to fit. So that's why I was saying that, my uncle being that rich, very, very possible. I can see that in reality. Right? So that's why I'm like, so this could be reality. So there's, dreams, all these different revelations that you get. You're going to get through dreams. You're going to get through visions. You're going to get through the Bible. You're going to get through God inspiring your heart, the Holy Spirit inspiring your heart. Sometimes people will say things that really inspire you too. And this is one that I thought was very interesting. Is when Sunstein said, "You remember the revelation receivers? These are the ones that some of them a lot of them even left Providence, right?" He says, "No, they're still true. Value them." And it makes us understand is, if you start to focus too much on the person, then you lose the sight of who is giving the revelation. So let's just say it's like, oh my gosh, there is this Jew, whatever it is, who is a revelation receiver. Oh no, they left Providence, so all their revelations are wrong. And the answer is no. That means you're focused on the human. That the human was the one that received all the revelation. It's not from God. It's their revelation. So now that they left, it's all wrong. But if you realize your focus is on God, then I will still understand and I'll still respect and value those revelations because at that time it was from God. The person, the vessel may have left, but God is still here. And you know what? If someone else comes as a revelation receiver, God's going to work through that person too. And I think that's something that we have to realize and understand also is we can't just look at it and say, oh, no, they left, which means everything that they said is wrong. And the answer is no, you can't look at it that way. You just can't. And like I said right now, it's like a lot of times it's what we don't know that hurts us. We can only take action as much as we know. Right? That's all we can do, as much as we know. So we can't discard lives. This next point I like is don't discard lives because they fell over in tribulation, but we got to pray for them. And in times of war, Sunstein said, people get afflicted with injuries by the enemy. Some people have PTSD, and we talked about this before also. A lot of people are going to be hurt by this. And we need to have that empathy and that understanding. And right now, I would say, now that we've calmed our emotions a little bit more, this is the time we can put the words of Jesus, the words of God that tells us, love your enemies, pray for those that come, even those that persecute you. We can put that into action. We can literally put that into action right now. And that's something I think that doing that is an act of putting the words of God into action. So I hope that all of us, we got to be those that really put the words of God into action. Don't hate people. Hate the action, not the person. And one of the things that I remember Sunstein said is, if you go to hell for even just 1 hour or 1 day, you will pray that no one goes to hell. That's how bad it is. Sunstein said that 1 day in hell is enough to cover all the sins in your lifetime. But you're going to be there forever. It's never going to end. Here's a big one I think that we have to think about too is, do not envy or be jealous of those who do a lot and gain a lot. Do not envy or be jealous of those who do a lot and gain a lot. Why? Because they deserve it. It's weird if you do nothing and you gain a lot, but don't be envy or jealous of those who do a lot and gain a lot. Why? They deserve it. That's fair, don't you think? If they do a lot and gain a lot, that is absolutely fair. There's no need to be jealous. There's no need to be, oh, why did they get this, God? Well, if you do a lot, you gain a lot. And sometimes we don't even know what people did, so there's no point of being jealous anyways, right? All it should tell you is, I've got to work hard and I've got to make effort, so I'm going to gain a lot too. That's where our thoughts should be. One of the things I thought was a very wise way of thinking when we start taking action, Sunstein said, if you want to do things with hope, take action with the thoughts that whatever you get, you're going to give it to the one you love. And Sunstein was like, I did all this so I can give it to my beloved Jesus. And God is always watching. That's the way to have hope. Take action thinking that, you know what? When I get this, I'm going to give it to the one I love. And Sunstein said, I gave it all to Jesus, and that's why I could do it. We got to be those that really, really keep God close to us, knowing that he's watching us, knowing that he wants to help us. And we got to discuss with him in prayer. So, God is always helping. And it depends on this discussion we have too. We have to make it even better. So yeah, I really, really hope that we can become those that keep God close to us, pray and discuss a lot with God too. Oh, there's this one point here I liked is when it talked about the spiritual war of faith. People who perfectly prepared for spiritual war. During the time of comfort, during the time of war, they will be comfortable. And they will win and be comfortable at the time of war because they're that prepared. They've done what they needed to do. They're not panicking, but they're fighting boldly. It's the people that didn't pray. It's the people that didn't prepare. It's the people that didn't do the things they're supposed to do are the ones that are frantic during the war. But those who have perfectly prepared for that spiritual war, they get strength from joy and hope. They'll do it until they win. Right? So, I enjoyed that. There's this other point that I thought that was really, it opens our eyes to the stage of history we're in right now. Remember when Sunstein's talking about all these pastors in the former faith, they've evangelized 2,000-3,000 people, but they've inherited like 70% of these people, or, that they're going on top of a 2,000-year-old foundation, right? But you have to realize Providence is brand new. We're not expected to be 10 billion people. We don't even have 10 people in the world, but we're not expected to be that. But he said, we are going to grow to the hundreds and millions after about 200, 300 years. Think about that, guys. hundreds and millions in 200-300 years. The earliest is 200 years, which means what year is that? That's the year 2224. Hundreds of thousands and millions of people in the next 200 to 300 years. That is the absolute outcome. That is 100% absolute predestination. We can't look at only what is happening right now. We have to look at what is going to happen in the future and run with that hope and that fire. That's what we got to do. You know, one thing, once again, evangelism came up again, talking about how hard it is to move people from the old time period to the new, right? And it's mainly because the roots of their daily life and hearts and thoughts are deeply embedded. The roots are deeply embedded in the old history. But in order for us to bring them over, the key is prune them. Prune the branches and the roots. Get rid of the bad stuff. Get rid of the old perspectives, perceptions, and thoughts, and cut them down first before you uproot them. It's going to be painful and difficult at first. So we have to be those that live, that are taking care of these people and moving them over properly. We have to transport them properly. So I hope everyone from this week's message that all of us, let's go to the end. Let's really receive God's love forever. Let's pray deeply to the Holy Spirit and to God, to the Holy Trinity. And, we need to be the happiest people of this time period. Yes, there's things to be sad about, but the true depth of true happiness inside of our hearts, it should remain forever. Okay? Let's all make ourselves shine like the word says. Cool. All right, so there it is. That is the end of today's Sunday Message Word Study. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions, comments, go ahead, leave it in the comments below. Anything for Q&A Thursday, leave it in the comments below, or you can DM me too. All right, there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Sunday Message Word Study. We do have Provi In The Media next, and of course, tomorrow is Eddie Kwan doing the Tuesday podcast. And don't forget also, guys, we have the YouTube, the Rebel Pastor live stream coming up on Tuesday night. Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for those of you in America, Canada. And then it's going to be in Korea time, 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. All right? So before we get into Provi In The Media, let's get into the last music break of the day.
To live with God in my heart. The tears you shed pray all night long. Your love and light at the break of dawn. The days when you were gone. Your words stay here in my heart. I'll hold on to you tightly, Lord. Your word is your love, I'm not alone. Now even if this dark world is frightening, wind and waves and thunders crashing, no matter what, our love will not change. You're with me and I'm with you. I will always, always love you, no matter if the world forsakes you. From all the love and miracles through you, I've witnessed the truth. I'll fly high with you. I will never, never leave you, no matter if the world forsakes you. With all the love and blessings I will not waver to wrong thoughts. I'll stay right here where I belong. You suffered all along. Your wounds lie deep in my heart. We'll guard you, Lord, till your pain's gone. We'll comfort you, so lie in our arms. Now even if this dark world is frightening, wind and waves and thunders crashing, no matter what, our love will not change. You're with me and I'm with you. I will always, always love you, no matter if the world forsakes you. Your love for God burns so brightly. Rise out of ashes, your light will set me free. I will never leave you, no matter if the world forsakes you. With all the love and blessings from you, I'll never forget all that you've done for me.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment for this Monday podcast. Like I said, there are some changes going on because Eddie is taking over the Tuesday podcast. Make sure you go ahead and support him. He's doing such a great job, and he's only done it twice. So he's going to get better and better with time. So please support him, pray for him, and make sure that you give him good feedback and such, or give him the feedback that he needs to do better and better. Okay, so now, today, on Monday, we're going to do Provi In The Media instead of doing it on Wednesdays because I want health is happiness for that day. Is there any big news? Well, we do know that on May 30th at 10 a.m., there was a trial for Sunstein. It was his third trial for the appeal. Right? So let me just report to you exactly what happened. This is all out in the news too. And the big thing is, this is the biggest part. The biggest part here is, after the trial, Sunsteam's lawyers gave a press conference to the press, and this was awesome. Okay, so what happened? Why did the lawyers all of a sudden want to come and give a press conference? Because there was big news that happened. So in this, this is what was said. It says in the appellate trial of Sunsteam of CGM. The third recording file of about 97 minutes was submitted by the complainant, which is Maple, who said she recorded with her iPhone in a space where the two of them were alone. It was revealed that the male and female voices in the recording were recorded in different places and then edited, manipulated, and altered. This fact came to light during the third trial of the appeals court held on May 30th at the 3rd Criminal Division of the Daejeon High Court, when Sunsteam's lawyer submitted as evidence a recorded file appraisal. At the second appellate trial on April 16th, the court. So remember, there was a big argument about recording copying the files. So they were able to copy the files, and then they took it to forensics. So immediately after the appeal hearing on that day, the Sunsteam's attorney held a press conference in front of the main gate of the Daejeon High Court and said, in today's trial, in the morning, there was talk about the victim's on-site recording file, which was adopted as strong evidence in the first trial. As a result of requesting and receiving an analysis from the defendant's attorney regarding the recording file, the conclusion was reached that the recording file was edited and manipulated. The specific content that was edited and manipulated appears to be that the male and female voices were recorded in separate places, played back in one place, and then recorded again with an Apple device. That was the conclusion. So, in that regard, the court decided to do what? The court now is going to select two agencies, the Supreme Prosecutor's Office and a general private evaluation agency, and request the court to conduct an evaluation again on its own authority to confirm whether the recording file was manipulated or edited, right? So we took it to a place. It was deemed edited and manipulated. And then the court says, all right, if we just take your word for it, then the then the accusers can complain and said, how do you know they're not lying? So they're going to take it to 2 other sources to check out to see whether they come up with the same results. And I think, guys, this is huge because that is the #1 evidence they have against Sunstein. And if that's false, this is huge. Huge meaning that the only big evidence they have is a lie, which kind of goes into, well, if they're lying about this, what does that mean, right? So this requires us to have a lot of prayer. Okay, everyone, please pray a lot for this. A lot of things to think about, a lot of things to know and understand. And I hope that you guys will enjoy and really be able to pray even better, knowing that this type of news came out. Okay. So there it is, guys. Oh, and the next trial, they said, it's going to be after June 25th, most likely in July. And we're hoping for a final verdict in July too. But this is the big one. When it comes down to the 97-minute recording that Maple made and handed in, that's the big one. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Provi In The Media and for today's entire Monday podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it, received a lot of hope and vision, can pray even better. Everyone, this is, we're already into the 46th year of Providence. We just had Alpha Day. Hope you guys were really inspired by that too. Enjoy, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know.